I'm Mayor John Buckley from the city of Hornell. We're joined by our public safety commissioners, David Parmalee and Scott Richardson, Chief of Police Ted Murray, Fire Chief Frank Brzezowski, and School Superintendent Jeremy Pilati. Yesterday I was traveling to Albany for a conference and what seemed to be a routine day when I was notified a structure fire broke out in the city. And as I was driving, I kept receiving more updates, and it turned out to be the fire was spreading rapidly. I turned around and could not believe my eyes when I got home and saw the devastation. And let me be clear, the devastation from yesterday's fire is shocking. Although many homes were destroyed and several others were damaged, it's a miracle that there was no loss of life, and for that we're very thankful. And that can be attributed directly to the bravery and the courage of our first responders. Hornell police were on scene, knocking on doors, making sure the homes are empty, getting people out of harm's way. Our fire department, along with assistance from the North Hornell, South Hornell, Canisteel, Arkport, and Fremont fire departments, worked tirelessly and courageously through the day to combat this fire that was just raging out of control. And while the fire raged on, the community began to rally. And if you live in and around Hornell, we live in a community like none other. The support system and network that we have here is something to be very grateful for and something to be proud of. Superintendent Pilati opened the doors to the high school and started offering a warm shelter and food and drinks to those people that have been displaced. And shortly after that, the community began to drop off donations, clothing, food items, you name it. It was just an incredible outpouring of support by the community. With that, we're going to we'll start with Jeremy Pilati, and he'll give us just kind of talk us through the events of yesterday.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Again, thank you to the first responders for their work. It was kind of pulling up to the high school a little after 3, seeing what was going on was quite an overwhelming experience. But from the community standpoint, the school was certainly grateful, very willingly opened up the doors to support in any way we could. During the few hours after the fire was being fought, or during the fire being fought, donations came in over and over and over. We actually had to shut things down around 7:30 because we had too many things that were donated to and not really a place to put them. From that point on, the city has really taken over the lead for the donations of items and move things to the Arts Center. And I believe John has a little bit more details as to how the coordination of pickup and drop-offs will be within that particular area. From the school standpoint, we've I'm fortunate to have a wonderful team of administrators and teachers and counselors that have worked together, and we've been in touch with the families that are involved, have gotten an idea of needs that they have at this point, and very shortly we'll be able to put that out in a very specific way so that those that are still interested in donating can contribute things that are most helpful to these families at this particular time. So that'll be posted on our Facebook page, as well as be shared with the city to be able to publish in their media outlets as well. But it's really, as John said, to see the community come together in such a short period of time to really rally behind all those that are impacted has been wonderful.
Chief?
Yeah, just follow up on that. As far as the fire went, the best way to put it is that was a perfect storm. The area, the city, it's a small one-way street, which alludes to a lot of blockage to getting apparatus into the area where the fire was. It ended up being contained to approximately 8 structures. There was 5 that were totally involved on Preston. Adjacent to that, which backs up against these houses on Washington Street, the wind currents and wind radiation from the fire also involved 3 structures on Washington Street, which were contained, and they are still habitable. It was a kind of a team effort. Again, alluding to what Mayor Buckley said, we got a great response team here as far as the mutual aid plans. There's different things that we practiced throughout the years getting ready for such an incident like this. Our mutual aid plans are built around things like this. Normally we pull up to a structure fire. It is just that, a structure fire, not several structures burning at once. And due to the location and old construction where codes was not in place before, no offsets, buildings being close together, and the proximity that these structures were less than an arm's reach apart, it made it very easily and very fast for the fire to travel. The other thing is hydrants in those areas. There's only so many per square foot for around a housing development, which is planning for a fire or 2, not several. So when you start to bear down on a water grid system like that, that's what the outside companies were doing, was moving in and basically laying water lines for us from neighboring streets to bring the water we needed to supply over to the structures. We basically broke off into 2 teams at that point. Had county coordinator on scene from Steuben County, which started a sub-brigade onto Washington Street to make sure those structures were contained and there was no spread of fire to those houses, while the main body was contained by myself and my crews to the front side, which incorporated about 4 fire companies out there. And again, because of the size of the street, one way next to a diversionary wall, which is for the creek that runs through there, it's very narrow, so any of the supply lines that we had to get into that area had to be dragged in by hand by manual crews to get them down in there to fight these fires. The temperatures were very hot to where the point of melting helmets and the truck that was in that area. So the crews that worked in that area worked under some extreme conditions to bring that fire under control. It looks like a lot of damage because of the structures being so close together, but to keep it from spreading farther from the next block over or more houses down the street, we contained it as best we could with what we had on the supplies.
Thank you. Chief Ted Murray, Hornell Police Department. My responding officers, of course, they don't have the equipment that fire department have, but upon entering the scene, as they described it, it was very, very hot, and they were going from house to house, getting people out of their houses, breaking doors down if need be, and they were successful in getting everyone safely out of the houses, which the mayor referred to, and that certainly makes us all very glad. Unfortunately, there were some pets and animals that didn't survive it, but outside of that, there weren't any loss of human life, which is fantastic. At this particular point, I mean, what my department looking at in conjunction with the fire department is cause and origin of the fire initially, and that right now is an ongoing thing that we're looking at. And I would just ask if anyone had any observations in that area on the onset of the fire or immediately thereof of anything that might be potentially useful to us. I'd appreciate them getting a hold of the Hornell Police Department, or they can contact us through 911 if they don't have our immediate number. But any information that anybody might have, seeing something or seeing anyone in that area, it would be appreciated. Thank you.
While the police and fire department focus on the investigation aspect, my focus is on those people that are affected and have been displaced, and just being there and providing them with the things that they need. As Superintendent Pilati alluded to, we've moved everything from the high school to the community arts center, and that is the staging area for all the clothing. There's food there. There's toys for children. We're still collecting all of those items, and we'll have people there staffing the art center throughout today and this evening, and throughout the rest of the week during the day. We have a lot of volunteers that have agreed to work there and serve those people that have been affected. You know, just looking at the area, it's absolutely devastating, and my heart just breaks for those people that have been displaced. Just talking to some of the families last night and today, you know, just hearing their stories, just total loss. You know, they're you know, it's not just their homes, but their personal belongings, their clothing, their memories, and it's just so heartbreaking. But we're here to do what we can, working with the codes department. We're working with area landlords and property owners, trying to find out who has openings, you know, which rental space is open, so we can get those people in new apartments. There were obviously a lot of rental properties that were affected during this fire, so we're doing everything that we can. I want to thank our friends and partners at the Red Cross, Catholic Charities, the Salvation Army. Everyone's banded together. We've got a great network of support, and again, we are just so fortunate to live where we do. We just have such a great support network here in our community. We're very fortunate for that. But with that, we will open it up to a few questions. Yes.
So with the water coming from the hoses, I know you guys were using water mains from different areas. From some viewer accounts that were there, they said the water was down to a trickle and at some points was non-existent. Was something going on with the water pressure?
No, as I alluded to with the grid system, you have so many mains throughout the city, and then they branch off to side streets. When you start drinking off one main for one fire is one thing. When you start pulling 2 and 3 large lines to fight multiple fires, it drains the pressure down. There's only so much there that can go around. So we have to go out farther than the grid that we are currently in that block, which takes some time to lay in from 2 and 3 streets over, which is where mutual aid companies did a stupendous job coming into us.
With a follow-up, I also heard that one of the fire hoses did break.
Yep.
Was that true?
There was several fire hoses that broke, and they were in front. And again, because of the brick wall and the close proximity where these guys were, they had shields melting. And so the temperatures were that hot, even with running water through them, that a couple of our hoses burst.
Even affected one of our fire trucks.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I saw that there were a couple people that were brought to the hospital. Were there any injuries? I know there were no deaths, but can you speak a little bit about any possible injuries that were sustained?
We had one civilian that was, I believe, was observing at the fire scene, and I didn't hear the full story of what happened to him, what was transported, but later then released. We had one firefighter that was overcome due to heat exhaustion, and the fire was taken, treated, and released. So those were the only injuries we had.
Chief Murray, can you talk a little bit about how the investigation is structured? The fire chief said earlier today that it involves both the fire department, the police department, and Cement County fire investigators. Is that how you see it, or is that how all those three involved?
Yeah, we do work as a joint unit to work together on fires. They've got trained fire investigators as well as we do on our side, so that we do work together and use any other sources out there, whether it be county or state.
Where would you say the stage? What stage are you in now?
It's really the beginning stages. You know, a fire of this magnitude, it's tough to go back and attempt to reconstruct what happened at the beginning. And that's kind of my comments of if anyone saw anything before it got going so good, it would be very helpful to us in our investigation.
Kind of just going
Well, I hate to get into the chances of finding a cause, because I don't know at this point. It's just, we're still at the beginning of it.
Yes, Lynn?
I know there has been a huge outpouring of support, the Art Center, and I've seen a lot of GoFundMes. What is the best way, if people want to contribute financially, to make sure that the money that they're donating is getting to the right people?
So that's a great question. Thank you for asking. So we're working with Maple City Savings, and we're setting up an account through Catholic Charities. So anyone that wants to make a financial donation, a cash donation, gift cards, that sort of thing, they can go straight to Maple City Savings and bring that there. They will accept cash and gift cards. They cannot accept checks, however. So cash and gift cards can go straight to Maple City Savings. That's Peisch.
On what Lynn is saying, there are a few already GoFundMe pages. Are you guys going to contact those people to make sure that is handled properly?
Yeah, we're trying to get the word out to everyone. I noticed last night some GoFundMe pages were springing up, and I know some people are a little leery of donating to GoFundMe pages, so that's why we're trying to direct everyone to Maple City Savings. Yes, sir.
I know you said you were speaking with some landlord or property owners for, I guess, placing them. Is it for temporary or is it going to be permanent? And if so, how would the tenant be able to afford it, being really lost everything? It's just like something that's springing onto them out of nowhere.
Well, hopefully it would be permanent. The gentleman right behind you from the codes department, they have a wide network of all the property owners in and around the city. So they've been working with those landlords to find out and identify where the openings are. I've had discussions with folks from the Salvation Army, and they believe they have funding available to help people out with the first month's rent to try to get them in those apartments and get them on their feet. But this is obviously ongoing, and we'll be working with them in the coming days.
I know the Red Cross also has like $75 per person or something along
Yeah.
that. I talked to him last night. That's a big help too.
Yeah, the Red Cross obviously made accommodations for a lot of the affected people last night.
Do you have any specific items that you're still looking for donations to be dropped off?
Well, we're trying to get a list of items that the individuals need. I know a lot of the folks in the community just bring different items of clothing. Obviously, when there's children involved, we need to know what size shoes they wear, what size pants or shirts or jackets, especially this time of year, pajamas. So we're trying to identify specifically what needs each family has, so we can identify those and get those this week. So.
And do you know how many people total have been displaced by this fire?
I believe the number, as of last night, the number was 20. I had number 21, Chief. Is that still accurate? 23?
Yes,
Yeah.
does that count? I believe 2 of them were pregnant, or are pregnant. Is that correct? Does that include, I'm assuming that does not include unborn children, but they probably do need supplies
Yes.
for those as well.
Mhm. Correct. I just want to mention just a really big thank you to Lori Whitehill from Hornell Partners for Growth, who has just been absolutely phenomenal. She's been manning the Art Center all day long. She was on scene at the high school last night, just helping coordinate things, and it's just just a tremendous support, and just a lot of thanks go to her as well. Just the community again, all the folks from the high school, the administration, the faculty. When I got back from what was a trip to Albany, and I was just overwhelmed, just absolutely overwhelmed by the public support. I can't say I'm surprised, because this is Hornell and this is what we do. But it was just, in the face of a devastating tragedy like this, just to be surrounded by that community support and be surrounded by these professionals, the professionalism that the police department brings to the table, the professionalism that the fire department and the volunteer fire departments brought to bear on this place was absolutely incredible, and the odds were stacked up against them, and they fought hard and they fought long until the fire was put down and everyone was safe. So I can't say enough about all our guys, and they worked their tails off last night. They really did, all of them, and even today. Yes, ma'am.
Approximately how long did it take to put the fire out?
It was about 4 hours before we had it under control. There was still a lot of hot spots between the buildings and stuff, and it was approximately, the original call come in about 2:30, and we started to release units at about 7:30 in the evening, some of the mutual aid companies back into service.
And what mutual aid companies did respond?
We had Arkport, Fremont, North Hornell, Kiana Steel, South Hornell. And then we also had assistance from the county coordinators team there.
Do you guys need to replace a good amount of your equipment?
We do have some equipment that was damaged, again, because of the raging heat. We lost some, and there was some damage to our pumper, which we're working on. So hopefully we can get that back in service.
I don't know if you said this already, but originally when a call first came in, what was the call? Was it just one structure fire, and you got there was something different, or like you prepared for what you went through?
No, I honestly wasn't prepared for what we pulled up to. Our guys are pretty much trained to rank and file as far as pulling up to how the call is dispatched. It was dispatched as a structure fire, and that's what we figured we were pulling up to was one. When we seen that there was already 2 structures involved and spreading to a third on our arrival, we immediately started to call for mutual aid. And then, like I said, it was just like the perfect storm between what was going on, the temperatures, hand lines trying to get hoses in there, and mutual aid companies to where the fire was spreading. And we had a lot of incidents happen all at the same time. So you guys did a great job pulling it together.
I'm not sure if anybody might be able to answer this, but has Hornell seen a fire? When's the last time Hornell's seen a fire this extensive?
I don't know that we have in a residential neighborhood. I know we've had some really bad fires. The Rainbow Heaven, the old Salvation Army building comes to mind as far as intensity of the fire goes. But in a residential area, at least in my lifetime, I don't recall one. We've had individual structure fires, individual homes that have caught fire, but never have I seen, and Chief, correct me, if you recall anything else, but never have I seen a collection of houses just all go up at once and then spread out and then affect the houses on the backside on Washington Street. One house turned into several. It ended up being 5 houses on one street and really 3 on Washington. So we had 3 on the backside that were damaged to varying degrees as well.
And a lot of these homes are pretty old, and I think one of you touched on the older codes that hadn't been updated. For folks who also have older homes, is there something that they can do to help bring their homes up to code to maybe help prevent this from happening to them?
Certainly anything you do as far as updates and monitoring. We do have a good program here in the city, and again, what Hornell was is an old railroad town, and the way houses were built years ago, there was no standoffs or spacing between them. So when we start getting into row houses and some of the side streets like these, they're very tight together. It was old timber, old construction, what we call balloon type construction. So fires don't have fire stops in the walls, insulation factors, sheetrock. The biggest thing, if you're already in a structure is, and we constantly harp on, CO detectors, smoke detectors, and just, monitoring what's in your house as far as electrical devices, extension cords, and things of this nature. We have great safety programs here. Codes department does a wonderful job as far as trying to do the upgrades. We've made mass canvases and mass improvements in the city as far as bringing the older ones up to code little by little. But certainly, any occupancies that would want our assistance or codes, we can point them in that direction.
Did you hear smoke detectors going off while
Many,
you were there?
many smoke detectors going off, and as we were going through, the firefighters, were hearing them as far as, when we were initially on scene, as, Chief Murray said, when his men were checking, we went toward the 2 fire structures initially to make sure everybody was out. We had, reason to believe they were, but we wanted to verify that. They started there and working both ways across, both left and right of the fire structures. And you could hear them going off as we were opening doors.
Frank, can you repeat, what's that old type of construction called again with the no stops?
Balloon type construction.
Balloon.
Yeah, it goes basically from the basement straight up, and there's no fire stops or insulation factors in the wall. So fire can roll through them very rapidly.
Would you say all those were that style?
Pretty much, yep.
We had a question back here?
Yes. I know this, obviously this happened out of nowhere. Are you set, or is there like a plan for things like to happen at this magnitude for many families? Like, I know this is moving fast for them to be placed in the high school as well as the community center and the donations coming in. Is there a plan set for this if it does happen?
Well, that's something that we're definitely going to be talking about, along with my 2 commissioners of the Board of Public Safety, something that we need to plan for in the future, because honestly, in the past when we've had structure fires, it's usually contained to one house, and you're dealing with one family. We had a fire a little over a year ago over on Fulton Street, and it was a 2-unit apartment building, and we had 1 resident upstairs and 1 downstairs, and we worked with them and found them housing shortly thereafter. In this case, we're talking 7, 8 structures, different size families in each one of them. So that's a challenge. There's a lot of moving parts to try to coordinate, the community outreach and the donations and that aspect of it, the housing aspect of it, trying to get these people, back on their feet and in homes. So, that's a heavy lift. We've got the team to do it, and everyone at this table and so many others, with the support of the community, we're going to get there. But as far as planning forward, yes, absolutely. Once we get through this, we are going to sit down, all the stakeholders, and formulate a plan going forward. Any other questions?
What was the phone number for the police department reached for information?
It would be 607-324-2860 is their main line.
And again, just thank you for coming and helping get out the word, especially for the all the donations. At the Art Center, any monetary donations go to Maple City Savings, and we'll it's been a rough couple of days, but I've been born and raised here in the city of Hornell. I've always been a proud Hornellian, and I don't think I've ever been more proud than I am right now, the way our community has rallied and come together. And it's really something to be proud of. So thank you all.